Another update here of the RM500, because it occurred to me I didn't really do a great update in the last video. I've actually been at work at some other stuff here, and I just kind of glossed over all of it. Most notably, in the first video, you remember how the subframe was pointing sky high? Like these two bars were just way up high, like it had been looped out real bad. Well, I ended up fixing that. So these were hollow tubes, and what I did is I took a 3/8 steel rod and just drove it all the way in here as far as I could to give it some extra support. And then on the top here, I had to zip a few cuts on top of each one, and I used a big pipe to kind of heave those rails down, and I got them sitting in a much better position. And I'll throw the seat on there, which, speaking of the seat, that's a brand new foam and cover. So you can see the bottom of it, maybe, if I can do this without dropping. So I've got some new hardware in here. This bracket is going to need welded and kind of reshaped and re-drilled because these tabs don't line up very good. But you can see it came together pretty good. It was a little hard up here because there was no seat pan underneath here. This seat would not have had a little safety hump. This is kind of a modified seat foam, but I think that it looks a lot cooler. So let's see if I can get it in there. There we go. So it's gonna look something like that. And yeah, I mean, that just looks so much nicer with that safety seat. But you can see I'm a little off back here on my brackets. I think honestly that frame rail could have gone down a little further, because when I mock the fender up, it seems like it's just a hair high. I don't really want to cut on the frame anymore, so I don't know if I can just make some adjustments to that bracket or to the pan to get it to sit a little lower. The gas tank I have mounted firmly now, and I've got the correct spacers underneath it, so that's on there. And then for some of the other parts that I bought, I was just going to show you since I dragged everything out here. I got some used front brake shoes. I didn't really know those were used. They were advertised as new, and when they showed up, that's how they looked. They don't really look any different than the ones that are in that hub, so probably didn't need them. But here's the top end gasket kit. Here's some seals that Suzuki still had. So there's a shift shaft, a kicker, a carb boot clamp that I didn't have, and then these little nylon spacers. They would go on the shift shaft, I believe, because that chain runs really close to that shift shaft. I could have made something, but these were only a couple bucks and Suzuki still sold it. As far as the fork hardware, I'm using this Moose kit. You can see the application somewhere. Yeah, right there. So it's like a 93 KX is what I found out. Seemed to have the same size bushings. So I basically got this kit just for the bushings. It's pretty cheap. And then seals and dust covers and the fork boots. All of that was like $100 or less. There's the KYB bladder. Got it for like $10. Seal head was somewhere around $60. So the suspension's going to be cheap to rebuild, as long as there's no destroyed components. Here's the chain block and slider that I showed you earlier. Some more factory gaskets. Nobody really had a complete gasket kit, so I'm just piecemealing it together. And Tusk, they offered rear brake shoes, if you could believe that. And then there's a little kill switch. It's a Honda style that Tusk offers. Of course, there's the fluid I'll be using. I needed just one inner tube for the back because I've got some for the front already. And here's the graphics. So this was just a bunch of warning decals. I didn't really want any of them other than the shock reservoir decal, which, like I showed you, is going to go on here once it all gets cleaned up. But maybe I'll use those, Takasago rim decals, or maybe, I don't know. All those warning decals kind of go on the fender. If they went on the frame, I'd be more inclined to put them on. Full floater and 500, which would be an 83 thing, but it just looks so cool. And they're supposed to go on these side panels right here. So up there somewhere, I think is where they go. All the plastic came from DC, and it's yeah, I mean, it's all gonna work pretty good. And oh yeah, the gas tank decals, I think they're in here. I went non-perforated because I recently had some good luck, so maybe we'll see. But yeah, that's gonna look pretty sweet. And now, I believe that is more of an update of what I've been working on. Oh, last but not least, the silencer. This was the silencer that came on the bike. I straightened it out as best I could. It actually looks fairly round. I think for a rider, this will be okay. I'm gonna have to weld an extension onto the front, I think. And then this little end cap, if I can get it out. There we go. That was an old tensioner pulley that I just spun down. Took a couple millimeter off the outer diameter in my lathe. Trying to put that to work. And that's gonna make a good foundation to build a core, since none of that stuff was in there. I mean, well, actually it was. This is what I had. Yeah, this is what came out of there. That's just, I couldn't use any of this stuff. So, all right, now that is more of an update, and hopefully the frame will look nicer next time I do an update. Peace.